So, hi Sean. Remember I was saying to you the last day that I was asked to go into a school and talk to 150 transition year students, 16-year-olds most of them, and I was quite spooked by it. And I said, I better ask you before I go in, what's going on in the head? I know you're 22, but what's going on in the head of 16-year-olds in 2018?
It's a tough question. There's a lot of things going on, and I don't think it's hard to put into words what exactly is going on, because each 16-year-old is completely different.
Sure.
So some might be sporty, some might be artsy, but I think there's a general developing process there of like trying to find out who you are.
Yes.
And just a lot of self-learning really, and kind of ups and downs when you're 16 in that age.
What about technology, which is the big difference between when I was 16 and today's 16-year-olds? How big a deal is that?
I'd say a big thing. Technology has definitely influenced people's lives a lot more now than back in my day, even 5 years ago.
Really?
5-6
It's
years
changed
ago.
in 5 years?
Yeah, I find kids on Instagram, which is the big social media platform now, kids that are 3-4 years younger than me are getting double to triple the amount of likes. So the amount of people engaged in content online is only increasing as you go younger compared to my age. And I'm only 22, but we can even see the difference between myself and an 18-year-old when it comes to social media interaction. So I think it's becoming a much larger part of your life. Like people were social media active when they were in 5th or 4th class even.
Yes.
When the people that are 16 nowadays.
Yes.
So,
and is this a good thing or a bad thing? Or does it make any difference? Or?
It has, like anything, has its good sides and its bad sides. Some people, obviously everything being so interactive, you can form really good friendships with people online and just continue what you did during the school day at home.
Yes.
At night.
Yes.
And also the bad side, so someone might be after you, in the school year, that can continue into the house, which is also a bad thing. But I think there's you've greater control in the scenario at home, because you can just switch it off or block them or whatever.
Sure.
Whereas in the schoolyard it's different. So
parents watching this, say maybe mums and dads of young teens, how could they get to their children in terms of trying to give them the best advice and direction and stuff like that? How do you think, is there a line, is there a word that you say, is there
you see, you're treading that line, aren't you?
They're 16, they want to move away from you, which is perfectly understandable, and yet they have none of the sense really. Let's be honest, when you were 16, did you know anything then, did I?
Not much, no.
But what was interesting about that group up there is that I was a stranger coming into the school, and I'm waiting for feedback from the school actually to see what they thought, but I could tell by the look in a lot of their eyes that they were engaged with what I was talking about. And all I was telling them is that as boys it's important to look after each other.
Yeah.
Just to look after each other, something as simple as that. And if there's one young lad in the class who's maybe struggling for whatever reason, that only the boys in the class know that.
Yeah.
And because they know that, they have an obligation to look after that young fella.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping that message landed. It's a very simple message really. I spoke a little bit about when I was a kid and I left school and we changed schools, and I found that very upsetting actually. The difference nowadays is that when I went home, there was no language for me to talk to my father about it. But I'd like to think in 2018, a child could, if he had a feeling good, bad or indifferent, feeling sad, angry, upset, isolated, that he could actually talk to somebody about that, because that's very important. Yeah,
I think definitely kids are way more self-aware nowadays because of social media, which is also in a way isn't a benefit, because they can be and mental health is such a massive issue nowadays that they're aware, and if they feel themselves getting down in the dumps or something, I think 16-year-olds would have more sense to talk about it than just try to get on with it.
That's great to hear, because a lot of adults, and I mean I'm in my 50s, a lot of adults would think, oh God, we need to give them more, and we wonder if the message is landing. So what you're saying is that they actually do understand that they need to share.
Oh yeah, that's definitely
great. Well, that's great to hear. That's very comforting for parents, but very comforting obviously for the young boys and girls too. So go on.
It mightn't always be easy to open up, but they definitely know it should be done.
Yeah, but what's interesting about this now is that any line that gets us closer to our children is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And so you have two younger brothers, and maybe they're too young, maybe yet to have this conversation, but because you're 22, you can give it a perspective that maybe somebody who's 16 mightn't be able to yet. If I can get a 16-year-old in the car, I might try that. I might ask Joe or younger brother sometime. So thanks for that, John. I appreciate it, and I hope people watching this found it in some way beneficial. The whole health and well-being and mental health space is a broad spectrum, and we sometimes struggle to maybe respond to our children's needs. But I think as I would always advocate on the Fatherhood program, we're always doing good enough jobs. And any school that invites somebody like me or any person in to talk to their student cohort about health and well-being, all that's good. It all works and it all helps. And as I was leaving, actually, there was one young man, and of course they're 16, so nobody's going to tell you anything. He just gave me a thumbs up like that before I was leaving, and then another chap down the back gave me a wink. So if it was only for those one or two young men, I think they got the message. So thanks for watching. Hope you found it helpful, and never forget that we're all good enough dads and mums too. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate it.